All right, Tequila Talks, we're back at it. This week's episode, we have special guest, close friend, Taylor Robinson, president of SearchWorks, a leading executive search firm here in Chicago. So, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Of course.
Episode 3, and you're here.
I love
Already
it.
got our first guest, so
Oh, yeah.
that's definitely the benefit. I'll introduce the tequila this time. How about that? Tequila Ocho, and did some chat GPT using AI.
Oh, good heavens.
That's the only way. I went to their website. There was a lot. So some fun facts. First tequila to introduce vintage. So with that, each bottle is labeled with the year and the specific field where the agave was harvested. So you tell me what year and field.
2002.
Okay.
Pardon my Espanol, but that's just not going to happen.
Give it your best shot.
It's from Mexico.
It's not happening.
It's from Mexico.
It's somewhere in Jalisco.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Well,
Thanks for picking it, though.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. And 100% blue Weber agave.
Agave.
That's really all about it. It's delicious. That's Cheers.
Enjoying it? Cheers.
All right, episode 3. We're going to talk about a lot of things today, but first, as our guest, Taylor Robinson, do you want to give us a little high-level overview of what SearchWorks is and what you guys specialize, in the Chicago
Or even
market as
just
well as
about yourself. Who are you?
All right, I'll take about 15 minutes here
It's
to
our
tell you guys
first
what's going
guest.
on.
It's our first
Yeah,
guest. We're new
so-
to it, so
I'll try and roll both in together. So yeah, Taylor Robinson, president of SearchWorks, took over the company from my father back in 2022, February. Great timing right before the pandemic, and so that was a fun year. But have been growing it ever since. Things have been going really, really well. So executive recruiting firm that we like to call it an innovative executive recruiting firm. And part of our philosophy is that you've got a great company, you've got a great culture, you've got great benefits, you've got all these things that are reasons someone should want to come and work at your business, and you know what those are. But we don't do a very good job of expressing that. We don't really tell candidates and the open market very well why we're so amazing and why people should want to work there. So a bit about what we do is we specialize in packaging your opportunity and packaging your business in such a way that it's going to get the most interest from the market and from the right candidates that you have. So a couple things that we do is we like to put ourselves in the candidate's shoes to say, what does this person want to know? All right, are we hiring a more junior person and they want to know, am I going to get training? Is there upward mobility? Am I hiring a more senior person where they're going to be breaking into a new market? They're going to be opening a new product or a service to the organization. So what are these things that these people are going to get excited about that would make them interested in the role? And we put that right in the job description. We tell people why this is so amazing and why you should want to come and kind of work here. Mm-hmm. We also tell them a bit about the company. Is it growing? Do they have really great tenured employees? Are they the first to market for this, that, or the other? What is the culture like? These are the questions that I get asked by candidates every single time that we have an interview. And we kind of cut through the clutter. We just give it to them right away. And so they know all this information right away. Mm-hmm. And we get about 34% more applicants to these opportunities than our competition that uses a very basic, here's 2 sentences on the company, boom, right into the responsibilities, boom, right into the qualifications of the person. If I'm a candidate, I know nothing other than this is just a job that exists.
Just a one-page paper.
It's just a one-page paper that's all about the business and all about what the business wants. And so if we put ourselves in the candidate's shoes and say, what do they want and what do they want to know, it's not that hard just to tell them right away. And you're going to get more interest in the opportunity. The other thing that we like to do to get clicks and to get eyeballs, and today's people have
the clicks.
So many, Instagram, TikTok, TV, we have so many things that are vying for our attention that just getting the information in front of those people is quite difficult. I talk to some candidates who get 1, 2, 3 messages a day from recruiters. So how are they supposed to go through all those? And it just becomes this kind of white noise. So you need to stand out a little bit as well as put your business in the right position to attract the right people. So for every opportunity that we partner on, we also create a video job description. This is a podcast, but we also have cameras here. People want to watch video. I love TikTok. Can't help it. It's like addicting to me. Can't help it. We interview the hiring manager and say, tell us about your company. Humanize it. Tell us about the role, humanize it. Tell about the ideal candidate, not just about bachelor's degree and this many years of experience, but we really are looking for somebody who likes to work in a collaborative environment. We want to work with somebody who is very outgoing and whatever all those things might look like. And we tell these candidates right in our initial reach out, hey, there's a video that you can watch to get this information. Boom. That's cool. Yeah. All right. I'm going to open this one. I'm not going to open the other ones.
Yeah.
And then when they click on the video, I will have so many people reach out to me and say, hey, I get contacted all the time by recruiters. I typically don't respond, but I got to watch the president of the company and the passion that he has for his business, and he really got me interested in the role in this position and what they do. I'd love to learn a little bit more, and that's why we get 30%. Well,
that, and you can see the passion and the love that CEO or president has for the business, instead of, okay, you're going to join a marketing firm here in LaGrange, Illinois, or Westmont or whatever, but like, okay, what are you going to be doing? Who started it? What's the story behind it? A message from the CEO definitely goes a long way.
Exactly.
I think, even for me, when all podcasts came out, I loved it because that's how I retain information way better. So, they can easily send the link, hey, here, read the about on the company. But if I watch a video and it kind of dives in from the president already, the existing person, and you get to hear from them, talk about the actual business, that's kind of a game changer.
Well, and I have trouble sometimes even understanding what a company does when I read their information. It's like, we're a company that puts people first, and we like to do, and it's all this propaganda about all these things. It's like, okay, you're a packaging company. Yeah. Just tell me, you guys are not saving the world. I get that that's all good stuff, but if you get to ask the CEO, what type of company you run? Oh, we run a packaging company. Boom! I know exactly what you do.
10 seconds.
And then you could, exactly. It's much easier. And so people get to what we say is it humanizes the opportunity. When you read a normal job description, there's no humanity in it. It's just, hey, this is a company that exists, and this is what they want. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with you, and you need to all of a sudden do this song and dance to say, I want to work here so bad. Oh, I love your company and I love your culture, and you have no idea even what you're interviewing for. Yeah. So let's give these people this information. Let's actually make sure that they want to work at this company, and the right people will apply and the wrong people won't. And that's 100%. A great way to kind of assess culture fit right at the beginning of the call, as opposed to interviewing the person a couple times and then them dropping out, or you saying, yeah, this person's not.
And 5 minutes in, and all of my questions that I had are already kind of answered. So
no, I was going to say, so we've worked together, and one thing that I must say that I really like about SearchWorks that other firms don't do is, you're like, hey, Griff, this guy's, he can fit your culture, and that's what people want. If they, you can build skill, mm-hmm. but you can't build from a person's standpoint. Mm-hmm. Your perspective, you'd worked in the industry for 1 or 2 years, then came over, but you're a great fit within our organization. We can teach you the knowledge. You can't teach somebody character. Mm-hmm. And so what you guys did when we worked together is you'd be like, hey, Griff, this guy, he could, his knowledge isn't 100%, but he could fit from a culture standpoint. And, rather than working with other firms, and they're like, okay, here's Billy, here's Sarah, here's Joe, here's Xavier, and, let us know which one you think. It's on you just to read a piece of paper.
It's on the resume. Yeah. It's based off of the resume. And I try to get to know the human being, and I've talked about this before of how my interview style is somewhat unique, because I'm trying, I'll ask people kind of silly, what might seem like silly questions. I'll be like, kind of who were you in high school? Did you fall into a clique? Yeah, people will tell you what clique they were in, and that tells you a lot about who that person is. Oh, yeah. And that's not to say one's better than the other, but that's a very telling thing about who that person is and kind of how they grew up. Now, people can change and all these different things, but who you are in high school is kind of who you are a little bit, throughout the rest of your life. It's very formidable years. And so I like to really kind of try and get to know the person. And another thing that needs to be focused on is, people will ask me, what's the culture of the company? It's a really hard question to answer.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't work there, because you don't live it, you don't feel it. So you get a little bit of information on the company, and you can kind of read some stats and other things that might tell you a little bit of this, that, the other. But sometimes I'll tell candidates, I'll say, look, this is the first time I've worked with this organization. I know that they're X, Y, and Z, but I know the person you're going to be working for intimately, 100%. And this person I can tell you is like this, and this is how they manage, and this is how they communicate. A company could have a semi-poor culture, but if your direct superior is an awesome manager and an awesome leader,
Yeah.
you're going to enjoy that job and you're going to love working there. So it's not about the company as much as it is the direct people that you're going to be working with as well. And we like to make sure that we really know the hiring manager and the direct team that they're going to be working with.
Culture is so important. I mean, even I always viewed growing up with sports, like you find culture. Like you look at back when Brady was with the Patriots, that culture, they're a winning culture. And why is it that way? And
Well, it's also that expectation. You coming into a team of like, okay, everybody
and
wants
that's
to win,
part of
everybody
culture.
has
though.
each other's backs.
Expectations and accountability. Like when you come into those teams and do a new organization, the expectation is part of that culture. We are a winning organization. That's part of your expectation. That's part of the culture. And I think even when I came to Employco, knowing your culture, one thing Rob said to me when I first started, like, I'll do whatever it takes to help you succeed. And that's the culture here. For like Jerry, our vice president of payroll, been with us about to celebrate 25 years working for one company. Like, you don't hear that too much, I would say. I mean, especially our generation, people are in and out 3 years, moving and bouncing around. But I mean, 25 years, that's a good culture. When you have someone, and I went down there and I asked her, I said, I got to ask, like, what helped this? What? And she just said, I just felt that I was cared about. They actually wanted to see me progress. She started when this building wasn't even here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a testament to the culture here, and I'm sure with your business as well. I mean, just knowing your expectations, I think.
Yeah, just a little story on that about a CFO role that we just filled on Monday. We got the signed offer left.
Congratulations.
But I had a CFO. Guy's a rock star. He's an absolute rock star. I could take him and market him to just about any organization. He'd interview well. They'd be interested in this guy's skill set because he's that good. However, the hiring company is a very conservative organization. They're not trying to take over the world. Maybe let's open one office or one location every couple of years. Let's keep our cash at hand. Let's make sure we have a good balance sheet. We're not going to do crazy things. And this guy wanted to grow. This guy he would want to come in and he would want to change things, and he would be like a bull in the china shop. So no matter how good this guy was technically, he's gonna ruffle some feathers, and it's not gonna work. And he's also gonna be upset that they're not moving as quickly as he wants to move. And so he just wasn't the right fit. So we ended up finding the right person for the role, who's somewhere in between that, who can still progress the organization, but takes on additional responsibility. It's not a massive company, but she's done some HR things. She's helped out in other functions, and she's just a really great team player. And that's the type of person that this organization needs in that role. And so no matter how good a candidate is, it doesn't mean that they're going to be the candidate or the right candidate for the job. And that's super important.
There's a company down in St. Louis, won't name names, but fairly large, about 1,000-person health and wellness company. And what they do when they interview somebody to see if, how they take care of themselves, what kind of car they drive, how is it clean, is it neat, or is it dirty? Like what? And so if you and I are interviewing Dan, we'll have Nikki behind the board. He'll go out and see the car. Is it filled with shit? Is it dirty? Is it clean? Because that tells you a lot about the person from like a character standpoint. Are you hiring on the character, or are you hiring based on the skill? And those are two completely different things. And what's the need for your organization? Are you a numbers driven? Hey, look, I don't really care about your character. Yeah. I just want to scale this business in 5 years, and you're the guy. Or you know what? This is a slow approach, but your character matters because I know I can teach you the skill. And I heard that, and I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. I never thought about looking in somebody's car, but it's like,
There's all kinds of those little fun kind of gimmicky trick things that people do. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest with you, for various reasons. Because I know that somebody who has a dirty car isn't necessarily going to be a bad employee, and they're not necessarily going to be bad at whatever the case may be. Take salespeople, for example. We're doing a lot of sales work right now, and if a salesperson is going to come in and make sales and not piss people off, I don't care what your car looks like. Go for it.
I parked next to Dan's car, and he had his dry cleaning. He had 4 hangers in.
It doesn't matter.
The only dirty stuff in my car is when he got in the other day. I got in my car the next day. There's 6 coconut water bottles. I'm like, well, where did all this go? The only garbage in my car is from you. I don't even know. And one day, of course, he comes.
Apparently so.
I was taking my stuff to the dry cleaner when I moved, but.
There's 2 excuses we got right there for the cover. 2 right back to back.
Yeah,
That was pretty
apparently
good.
so.
He's quick. See, this is a sales guy. He came right back at you with it.
Always got to be prepared.
Yeah, you got to be prepared.
Always have to have an answer.
You got to be
Can't,
prepared.
stretch that. Oh, I'll get back to you on that one. No, I'm in sales. I got a quick answer for you. I do. My question was, do you work directly? So there's a company, they need a role filled.
Mm-hmm.
Say they're a bigger company, they have a CEO, a president. Do you work with the board? Is it the board that reaches out to you? Is it the CEO reaching out to you saying, hey, we need this role filled, could you help?
We have worked with boards, and typically we work with boards when we're doing a board of directors search. So they have a seat on their board, and typically the boards are made in such a way that they've got like a guy who understands sales and commercialization. They've got another guy that knows the particular industry very well. They know another person that it's almost like having functional leaders on your board.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they realize that they need to take a commercialization person, because we're talking about sales, we would go out and we would find somebody that doesn't have any hindrances to work within that industry because they're currently in that industry. Most of the time they want somebody who's currently working. Maybe sometimes they're retired, but typically they want somebody that's currently working. So that's when we would work with a board. The other times is if we're doing a CEO search, but many times it's the outgoing CEO or the owner of the business that we're going to be working with directly. Those are particularly challenging because that individual, it's their baby. Typically, they founded it, they built it up. They're not going to just give it to anybody. So those are particularly challenging searches, but many times the board of directors is not that involved. And if they are, it's maybe 1 or 2 people on the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those, I was just wondering how that kind of worked. One thing from your industry, and I noticed we constantly are meeting with business owners, and, we get into that, well, give us your challenges, what's going on with the HR. Right away, I would say the top answer every single time.
Tuesday's meeting.
Yep, hiring. Can't get the right people in the
Yep.
right spot. We can't hire anybody. And my question is just kind of where we're at, even in America.
On the jobs report that came out this morning, it was 254, and the estimate was 140,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like,
So I get, really my question is there a talent shortage? Is it we can't get people who are talented enough to fill that position? Or is it simply there's just not enough candidates for that position?
Mm-hmm.
From your experience, what are you kind of seeing? Is it talent or is it not enough people?
There's a little bit of a timeline and an evolution that I'll go into about that exact subject, which is back in the day, back before my industry took off in the 90s and back before we had Indeed and all these different ways that you could find people, businesses were open to hiring off of personality and culture fit. And they, like you said before, we can train this person to do these things. And so they were willing to take a chance on people more than they are today. Today, I'm hiring for we'll just stay on sales, director of sales. I want somebody who's been a director of sales. And if they haven't been a director of sales, then they're not qualified for the job. Is that true? No, it's not true. But hiring managers today have so many candidates and so many opportunities. And when I say candidates, I don't mean good candidates. I mean, they get a lot of paper. And that makes them think that there's all these people out there and they can just keep saying no and there's going to be this line of people after them. Back in the day, you might get 8 people total and you pick the one that's the best for it. Now you got 800.
yeah, oh yeah.
And so there's this mental strain and this difficulty for people to understand that basing it just off of the resume and not putting it in the actual individual it causes a lot of issues. And so is there a talent shortage? No, there's not. 2, going back to my earlier points about, okay, so if there's not a talent shortage, then where are these people? Well, these people are not in your pipeline. They're not interviewing for your job. So you need to do something to get them into your pipeline and get them into your interview process, which is why what we do is so valuable, because we get those people to actually apply and take part in that conversation. So I don't believe that there's a talent shortage. I believe that there's a shortage of understanding and too much expectation, potentially. And there's a shortage of an ability to position your role and business in such a way that you can actually break through the clutter and attract the right people.
What my big with expectations, you mentioned my expectations.
That's what I was going to go on.
Well, I spoke up first. So
Fight.
this is
Fight.
how we are all day. He's the worst, man. I come back, I'll go get coffee, I'll come back, my chair will be lowered, the arms will be all off. The one day he undid the back seat, so I sat down and leaned back when all of it, he's just, Oh, he's just asking for it one day, I swear. But it's fun. I love it. When you're filling the role, how much do you focus on when that CEO comes to you, hey, we're filling this role, on what his expectations are? Does that kind of ever play an effect? Like that person comes in and the CEO is this company is expecting them to do this, but they don't know that. How do you kind of help get around that?
I could go down about 100 different avenues in asking that question. I'll give you a quote that's my father's famous for. That is, you can either tell me what you want and I'll tell you what you have to pay, or you can tell me what you're willing to pay and I'll tell you what you can get. And many times, many times compensation is kind of the defining factor. You know, you want this amazing person who's got all this experience and they've done all these crazy things, and you have to have that. Well, that's what this person's going to cost X. Well, my budget is Y. Well, then if your budget's Y, we can get you the high end of Y, maybe get you somewhere into X, but you're not gonna you're not gonna be able to pay for these types of people. Or you're gonna have to go with Z, someone who's underqualified but has the potential to get to that point. And that goes back to my earlier statement about, you know, giving people the benefit of the doubt and giving them the training and giving them the ability to kind of move into that role. But there's a million reasons that somebody's not qualified for a job. And the difficult part about my role is that on one side, I've got a human being who's got a personality and they've got needs and they've got wants and all these things. On the other side, I got another person who's got needs and wants and a personality and all these things. And it's like playing matchmaker and getting them to agree and getting them to actually have a successful working relationship, which actually reminds me, some more propaganda for you. We also will provide all of our place candidates with 90 days of executive coaching. We call it executive integration. So once a month, you actually sit down with an executive coach and they ask you, how are things going? What are you responsible for? Tell me about all the people that you've met. And they go through this line of questions of, okay, so you've met these people. Who should you have met that you haven't met yet? Okay, so by the next meeting, I want you to have met this person. Okay, so what responsibilities have you been given and what projects are you on? How are those going? What do you need to do to make those be successful? Okay, next meeting, I want you to have done these things and I'm going to check in on you. You've got someone who's external, who understands your role, who understands the business you're working for, who understands the person that you're working for, and you can go and you can talk to your significant other. They don't know what's going on. You can talk to your friends, and they don't really want to talk to you about that. You can go to your internal people that you're newly working with, but you don't want to complain to them.
No.
So your recruiter and this outside team that we have has a particular understanding of the world that you're living in, and we can be particularly effective in assisting you in getting integrated within that business quickly. And we've got the experience to do that in the proper
That's a key differentiator, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes you stand out, you know, whether you're a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond. I mean, that right there separates you from all of the big guys.
You know what's interesting, though, is that a lot of clients are scared of it.
Really?
They're afraid of it. They think, well, we've got our own onboarding program. Okay, so you give the guy a computer. You put them through a 30-minute class and this stuff. That's onboarding. Onboarding can be very,
Sign this
very,
paper,
it's very, very,
You're gonna
still.
meet Joe in 2
does this
weeks.
person have a mentor, and does this person have someone who's making them accountable for getting things done? Many times the answer to that is no. Or the person that's responsible for making them accountable is responsible for seeing whether they did it or not. They're not necessarily helpful in getting them to get it done or helping them to get it done. And they're their direct boss, so they might be doing it in such a way that's intimidating, or the communication is a little bit off because these two people haven't figured out how they work with together very well. And so you've got this outside person. You can tell them about your pains, your triumphs, all these different things. And the candidates love it. And by the way, those conversations are confidential.
I would too.
It's confidential. It's just for the candidate. We don't go back and say, hey, candidate A, who we just placed 2 months ago, said this, and you're doing a bad job of that. It's just for them to be successful.
And I mean, that's the sole purpose of it. You're hiring this person to be successful. Whether they're a longshoreman, whether they're a sales guy, whatever the case may be, you want that individual to be successful. And I think part of the accountability that we had talked about, I think that's kind of lacking in today's society, because the average life cycle of an new employee in our generation is under 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no more 10. I mean, there are, but
There's no
of
more.
those-
25 years at the same company. There's no more of that.
that's
Like,
an exception. Not an exception, but like even 10, 15 years. I mean, that's rare to see. We met somebody the other day. She's like, I've been with this bank for 10 years. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. But then she's like, oh, yeah, I'm, X, Y, and Z, H. I'm like, okay, then that's, but
Yeah,
you
makes sense.
never see that anymore. And I think part of it is either accountability or the culture. I think those are the two things that drive people away. Or, short expectation. Hey, my expectation in this company is I'm going to grow this ladder, and I don't. And
Wow.
so I'm going to leave.
It goes back to exactly what I was talking about before on hiring and expectations. Copy and paste on the candidate side or
Yeah.
the employee side.
Oh, 100%.
So my expectation is that I'm going to get a promotion every year and a half. I talked to a good buddy of mine who works at a large organization. Every year and a half, he's gotten a promotion. He's now or he was at the time, 2 years and 2 months in, calls me up. He's like, Taylor, I think maybe I should start looking for a new job. I've been here for 2 years in this role and I haven't gotten a promotion yet. I'm like, dude. So tell me this: you've gotten 3 promotions in the last 4 years or whatever it is. Did your responsibilities change? What changed? Nothing really. It's the same job. Oh, so you're not getting a promotion.
No.
You're just getting a title change that's there just to keep you in the business.
Well,
A real promotion is getting responsibilities. It's getting a new authority over your world and whatnot. But title inflation is a very, very real thing. It went crazy during COVID. The term senior that got thrown onto job titles bumped up about 60% in a 2-year time period because nobody could get talent. So they said, throw senior on it.
Yeah.
Job's the exact same.
Sounds great.
Now it's just a senior job.
you're a
Okay,
senior.
cool, sweet. So the employee's standpoint, their expectations have also changed, and the amount. And we're kind of talking about young people a little bit here. There's an article going around right now that was posted a couple days ago about how Gen Z is getting fired like crazy right now.
I saw. Yeah.
It's like tons of Gen Zers are getting
They're on their
fired.
phone all day.
One, they're overpaid. They're just
overpaid on their
They're
phone.
overpaid.
Yeah.
Smoking and
They're overpaid. They haven't learned, legitimate business practices,
Hard
which is
work.
pretty normal. But they're the first to go.
Yeah.
If things aren't going well, they're the first to go.
Go ahead.
I got an 8-year person making the same amount as a 1-year person. 8-year persons prove themselves. You're gone, mister.
But what you don't see in our generation or the generation above us, that like our father's generation, I was golf with a couple guys from a bank in Chicago, very senior. They literally we would get in at 5:15, 5:30 every single morning, and we would just we would just get coffee and talk about all the trends that are going on every single day. And then you just get used to it. And then by the time you get 7 o'clock rolls around, you're, doing whatever. But it's those early mornings that no one wants. I want to, can I show up at 9? No, sorry, you can't show up at 9 o'clock. I mean, like if you're working
ridiculous.
Okay, that's one thing. But like we talked about, leadership and growing within an organization and learning different individuals within the organization. Like there's nothing like it than having conversations either early in the morning or
And the
late
amount you
evening.
learn going through each stage. I think when it comes to promotions, what we were talking about the other week, the best example, Nike's new CEO.
He was an intern.
So started as an
You know that?
intern. If you
30,
saw it on
35
LinkedIn,
years ago.
Really?
An intern.
they posted his LinkedIn. Each time you get a new job or whatever you progress, it was incredible.
He started
It was an awesome
in the
thing
80s
to
he started.
That's awesome.
Start as an intern, then went to part of the sales team, then sales team, then to the manager of the sales team, accounting, and just
like
you just see each step. You just see marketing. Then it was like global VP, and you're like, wow. And
That's awesome.
that is the coolest. That was one of the coolest things to show. And I tell Griff all the time, and I can say it, but I'm here. I love it here because I feel the growth. I feel that each day, each month, I'm coming in, I'm progressing, and I, just always want to keep working my way up the ladder, and that's where I want to be. But to see that it can happen, you can start at the bottom, an intern. Nothing against interns.
No.
But that's as low as it gets. I mean, I always remember growing up, there was people who did unpaid internships. I was like,
That was the thing.
I was
that.
like,
Yeah, I
I
did
was
that.
like, wow. I was like, man, I was like, I'd go nuts. But if no one
Nowadays,
paid
they
me
want to
for
make
my work-
$40K in a summer.
No,
for
yeah.
doing-
for like filing
wild.
paperwork.
Yeah.
It's like,
Wild.
and don't get me wrong, intern work is great to learn about the industry because you're around it. But man, looking at his list of where he started, and now you're the CEO of Nike. I mean, that's the coolest journey you could have. And from a culture standpoint, what a great person to hire. He's done every single position.
Yeah,
he
and
knows
think-
everything about the
and
business.
you
Rotation
two
program,
both
basically.
being family generation, you definitely, there wasn't like one day, and maybe I'm wrong, but it wasn't one day that you came in and boom, you definitely worked your whole way,
yeah.
learned each
And that
role.
was like you in the restaurant. You
Yeah,
came from
we all,
third
and it's
gen,
actually
too.
funny. My dad had the restaurant. My grandpa started it, passed it on to my dad. Then I took it over. I started as a busboy. And I did waiter. Then I was behind the bar. You learn everything that goes to it. And I think that's the best part is start as an intern. He knows every single role of that company.
Well, think of like a law firm. You start as like an intern, then you're an associate, and then but that's the title change. You look at banks and law firms, it's title change. To keep them, all right, we'll bump you up 10K, but then you keep them there for another 3-4 years.
Yeah.
No, I want to touch on one thing from like a recruiting standpoint though. Before I wrap up, is back, 15, 20 years ago, it was based off character, based off skill. You're getting hired. Then it was recordings. Then it was recordings from the CEO, and now it's from the candidate. Where do you see this going?
When you say recordings, what do you?
Video of like,
Oh,
hey, welcome
okay.
to this organization. You see a video from myself or Rob or whatever the case may be. This is what Employee Code does, or HR, yada, yada, yada. Where do you see the recruiting industry going in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you still see it being recording based?
I've got a cool theory on this.
Okay.
So,
Because we're always recruiting, we're always interviewing in our organization because the candidate pool is always open, but we want to just keep those relationships open. So from our standpoint, from a business, where do you think this is going? And
Get
from
excellent people like me.
from an we're in the HR space, so we're always getting questions from our clients like, hey, how can we attract more people, or where do you see, how can we hire people? Like we can't.
yeah, it's only about every 15 years that the recruiting industry really changes, to be honest with you. So maybe we're there. And maybe what we're doing with kind of the video job descriptions is what other people should be doing.
Yeah.
It's good differentiated for us, so hopefully not, but that's what we do. But I got a fun theory for you. Okay. This is going to be for big business, Apple, Google, whatever. These are going to be the guys that can actually pay for this type of thing. So Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, you get ads. So they know what your information is. They know how old you are. They may know what you do for work. They know all these things about you, all these deals. So they can send you targeted ads. I think the recruiting industry is about to be there. So boom, I now need a software engineer who's got this many years of experience and blah, blah, blah. They take the data from their online profile, their online resume that's on Indeed, and it kind of takes all this stuff together and it knows who you are. If I'm Apple or I'm a Google, I'm going to use that information. I'm going to make the most compelling video or what have you to try and attract that person. And I'm going to pay the money to those organizations to send you a targeted ad that says, we have a job opening, you're the perfect candidate for it, and we'd like you to come in and interview. Hit this button to submit your resume. That's where I think the future is going to be. I don't know how long it'll take to get there, but I think that's going to be the future.
Ads on LinkedIn.
It's listening.
Yeah.
Well, and you just take, if you combine all of the things that you've done online, they know exactly who you are.
Oh,
they know everything. It just take your LinkedIn alone. I can tell you if somebody's going to be qualified for a job or not, just from a technical perspective.
Well, that's like we were talking about a guy a couple weeks ago, and you're like, I don't think his heart's in it. He's a good guy, but I don't think his heart's in it.
Right.
Like, all right, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah. Well, and that's when people are looking for a job.
Yeah.
You can tell if people are just looking for a job, or
Do you
they're
think
looking.
it'll go the other way, where people post videos or ads on themselves, say, hey, I'm looking for.
So my sister did a video resume, a visime. Back in 2000.
That's the new
Back in
industry.
2010.
Visime.
My sister made a
14
visime.
years ago.
My sister made a visime, And
That's a word?
It's a word that we coined.
Okay.
Put it in the dictionary. And she would send her resume out, and she had a link on her resume that would take you to this video. And it was her saying, "Hi, I'm Paige Robinson. I went to the University of Illinois, blah, blah, blah. I play tennis. I do this and that." There's a funny part in which she goes, and I took 4 years of Spanish. Hola, me llamo Paige. And you got to see her personality, and you got to see her face, and you got to see her inflections in her voice and the way she communicates and stuff. I mean, there's nothing stopping anyone from doing that.
Oh,
So
no.
yeah, maybe.
I think
maybe.
that's you.
Maybe.
So the short little say you mentioned she likes tennis, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't even know what the brand is that makes the tennis balls. But say Wilson. Oh, there you go. Shout out to the Wilsons. But say she's like, oh, I was a past accountant. I love tennis, and Wilson is looking for an accountant role. Boom. From that video, that's probably definitely.
Yeah.
I think where
You see that from like
everyone's already
marketing.
videotaping themselves already, making stories and
In
doing
like
everything.
the art space and marketing. You don't see it in sales or any other. Really, only marketing and the art or music industry.
Yeah, send me your
People have-
portfolio.
Send me your website.
Yeah, your website.
You know, I was on a conversation the other day with a person out of Utah. It's like, can you send me some more information about yourself? She sends me her website, everything she's done. You know, here's your, what you think of me. Here's your rec on myself, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, huh, all right. So now I have a whole page where I just have so much information, videos, recommendations, this, that. I'm like, okay, now,
There's a business there.
oh my God.
There's a business there of building or the product of letting people build their own website easily, simply, and taking the things that they already have and just putting them together and making a more robust resume that's online. There's a business there. Guys, let's do it.
I agree. All right. Well, on that note,
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. We're
Cheers.
gonna wrap up.
Pleasure.
Here.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
me.
Taylor Robinson.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that's a wrap.
Episode 3.